I've always been obsessed with lost media. You know, the weird stuff, footage or games that vanish without explanation, old VHS tapes labeled with cryptic words, ROMs that appear on forgotten forums. Most of the time it's nothing. Just urban legends, fan hoaxes, clickbait. But a few months ago I came across something that I can't explain, something that's been haunting me ever since. I still have the footage. I don't watch it anymore. I can't. But every night I swear I still hear it. Those distorted sonic sound effects echoing from my computer, even when it's turned off. It started when I was scrolling through an old web archive forum that specialized in retro restoration. People there uploaded rare game builds, old commercials, and sometimes creepy found content. One thread was titled Unreleased Sonic VHS, 1993, Sega Internal. It had only 2 replies. The original post linked a file sharing site and a dead YouTube link. The preview image was just a static frame of Sonic standing in a forest, something that immediately caught my eye because, obviously, Sonic never ran through a forest that looked that realistic in any 90s footage. It looked too real. Curiosity got the better of me, so I downloaded the file. It was a 1.8 gigabyte video labeled Sonic.exe.mp4. Weird name, right? When I opened it, the thumbnail showed a VHS timestamp overlay. 08/14/93, 10:42 p.m. The screen was dark, and I could hear the faint hum of what sounded like an old TV. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then static flickered and I saw him, Sonic, the 16-bit model, but not quite right. His colors were washed out, the whites of his eyes faintly gray, and his grin looked stretched like someone had digitally warped it. The camera wasn't from a game engine. It was handheld. You could see the distortion of a CRT screen, the shaky focus. Whoever recorded it was pointing a camcorder directly at a TV, running what looked like an unreleased Sonic prototype. You could even hear the person breathing. Heavy, uneven breaths. There were faint whispers behind the camera, like someone trying not to laugh, or maybe cry. Sonic ran through what looked like Green Hill Zone, but the background trees were replaced by realistic forest assets. No music, just the looping sound of Sonic's running footsteps. Every now and then the sound would skip or distort. When Sonic jumped, there was no ring sound, just a faint metallic clank that sounded like a hammer hitting metal underwater. At about the 2-minute mark, Sonic stopped running. The camera zoomed closer. He was standing perfectly still at the edge of a cliff. The background began to dim, like the in-game lighting was fading out. A faint rumbling began, low and mechanical, like an engine buried deep underground. Then Sonic turned toward the camera. His pupils dilated pixel by pixel until his eyes filled the entire screen. I froze. The recording started glitching violently, flickering between static and a face, someone's face. A man's, pale and trembling. I think it was the person recording. He whispered something, barely audible. But when I replayed that segment later with headphones, I heard it clearly. He knows I'm here. The video cut to black for 10 seconds. When it came back, the timestamp read 11:16 p.m. Same night. The man's voice was more frantic now, whispering. He moved. He wasn't supposed to move. The camera panned to the CRT again. Sonic was gone from the screen. The forest background was empty, but you could still hear running. Fast, echoing footsteps coming from somewhere beyond the speakers. The guy filming was breathing faster now, trying to stay quiet. Then there was a knock. Not from the game. From the room. 3 hard knocks on what sounded like a door. The man gasped and dropped the camera. The lens pointed toward the floor, still recording. You could see his feet pacing nervously and hear a faint tapping noise that seemed to be coming from inside the CRT. When he finally looked up again, Sonic was back, but closer. His sprite was right against the screen, grinning with teeth that weren't pixelated anymore. Human teeth. The video glitched again, the man whispered. He came through, before the footage dissolved into static. I must have replayed that clip 20 times. I thought maybe it was an RG or some early 2000s creep project, but I couldn't find any mention of it online. Reverse image searches turned up nothing. Even the file's metadata had been stripped. No codec info, no creation date. Just SonicCam93.mp4. That night I uploaded the footage to my YouTube channel. I run a small horror archival page where I analyze weird lost media. The video barely got 200 views before it was age-restricted and then taken down within 24 hours. The takedown notice didn't say copyright, though. It said removed by request, Sega Internal Archive. I tried appealing it, but the page itself vanished, like it had never existed. I figured maybe Sega's PR team just didn't want some creepy fan edit circulating. I didn't think much of it. Until the next night. Around 2:37 a.m., my computer turned on by itself. I swear to God I hadn't touched it. I'd powered it down completely before bed. The screen was just black with a single folder on the desktop named Running. My mouse wasn't responding, but I could hear the faint looping sound of footsteps, like in the video. I thought maybe someone had hacked me, but my Wi-Fi was off. I reached for the power switch, but before I could hit it, a message box popped up in the middle of the screen. It read, "Do you hear him too?" I stared for maybe 10 seconds. The message box flickered and the sound of running grew louder. I clicked no, my computer crashed. Total blue screen. Then my monitor went black and for about 2 seconds I saw Sonic's face flash, smiling right before everything shut off. The next morning, my external hard drive wouldn't open. The file, Sonic.exe.mp4, was gone. The entire folder had corrupted. I tried running recovery tools, but every attempt returned the same error. File in use by another process. That was when the noises started. It began as faint movement in the hallway outside my room. Soft, rhythmic padding like someone running back and forth. My apartment's on the 3rd floor, concrete flooring. You don't hear footsteps like that. The first few nights I ignored it, told myself it was neighbors or pipes, but on the 5th night, I saw something. I'd left my monitor on by accident, and at around 3 a.m., I woke up to faint blue light flickering against my wall. The screen showed my desktop, but the running folder had reappeared. My cursor was moving on its own, hovering over it. I sat there frozen, watching as it double-clicked the folder and opened a single file. Camera feed.mkv, it was live footage. My own room. I could see myself sleeping from across the room. Like there was a hidden camera somewhere. The timestamp read 03:12 a.m. I turned my head slowly toward the corner where the angle seemed to be coming from. There, behind my bookshelf, was a faint glow, like the lens of a recording device reflecting the monitor's light. Then, something moved on the feed, behind me. At first it looked like a shadow, but it was darker than the rest of the room, flickering in and out like bad compression. It had a shape, short, hunched, and wrong. It crept toward my bed frame, stopping just inches from where I lay. On the feed, I could see it lean close to my face, but in real life, there was nothing there. That's when I heard it. The faint metallic clank. The same one from the video. I don't remember moving. I just remember running out of the room, slamming the door, and staying in my car until dawn. When I came back, my PC was off again, the folder gone. But something had changed. Every video file on my drive, every single one, had the same thumbnail now. Sonic's face. Grinning. I backed everything up and sent it to a friend who works in digital forensics. He called me a week later, sounding shaken. Said he tried opening one of the files and his monitor freaked out. Started flashing images of a forest, static, and some kind of screaming noise that messed with his speakers. He told me never to send him anything like that again and then blocked my number. I thought maybe I could finally be rid of it if I destroyed the hard drive. So I did. I took it outside, smashed it with a hammer, burned it, watched the plastic bubble and melt. But that night, when I turned on my phone, the screen glitched, and for a split second I saw that same forest again. The next morning I got an email. No sender, no subject, just a single attachment, Sonic Cam 93 MP4. I deleted it without opening it, but now, almost every night, I still hear it. The faint running sound looping endlessly like it's circling my bed. Sometimes I'll catch a flicker of blue in the corner of my eye, or see a shadow dart across my monitor reflection. Last night, though, I woke up to something worse. My computer was already on. The camera light was blinking, and on the screen my face was visible, recorded live. But standing behind me in the frame was a tall figure with hollow eyes, and that same impossible grin. When I turned around, there was nothing, but the monitor didn't lie, and now every time I blink, I swear I can still hear him running faster and faster, getting closer with every step. Written in full paragraph format, first-person POV, 2,500 plus words, dark, cinematic, and deeply unsettling. It continues the same cursed media theme, but descends even further into the supernatural. It's been 2 months since I uploaded that video, 2 months since the Sonic.exe file appeared and vanished. Since my hard drive melted and that cursed email showed up out of nowhere, I thought destroying the data would end it. It didn't. The running sounds haven't stopped. They've just moved closer. I stopped using my main computer. I don't even go into that room anymore. I set up a new laptop in my living room. Fresh OS, disconnected from the internet. Completely air-gapped. I wanted to document everything to prove I wasn't losing my mind. So I started recording nightly vlogs. You can actually see me trying to act normal at first, pretending it was all behind me. But in the later recordings you can hear it, the faint padding sound that creeps in around 3 a.m. It's weird how fast you can adapt to fear. The first few nights I jumped at every sound. Now it's just part of the background, like tinnitus, except it isn't in my head. I've tried tracing it. The footsteps always come from different directions. Sometimes the hallway, sometimes the kitchen, once from right beneath me, like there was another floor below my apartment. There isn't. 3 weeks ago, my friend Noah came over. He's a sound engineer, one of the only people who didn't think I was crazy. I played him one of my vlog recordings and asked him to isolate the noise. He put on his headphones, opened the waveform, and after about 10 minutes, his face went pale. "There's another layer under this," he said quietly. He boosted the low frequencies. What I thought was just static resolved into something else. A voice whispering, faint but deliberate. The words looped like a corrupted echo. "Do you see him running?" Noah looked at me, half joking but clearly uncomfortable. "Man, what the hell did you record?" I told him everything. The video, the glitch, the folder, all of it. He didn't laugh this time. Instead, he offered to take my laptop and analyze it at his studio, somewhere with better isolation equipment. I hesitated but agreed. If anyone could prove this was real, it was Noah. He left around 9 p.m. By 11, he called me. "Hey, this thing's acting weird," he said. It copied itself. Like literally duplicated the video 3 times in different folders while I was working. And one of the copies had a new clip appended to it, one you didn't record. "What do you mean?" I asked. He paused. I heard him breathing. "It's footage of me, sitting at my desk, except I'm not moving. I'm just staring at the monitor. And the timestamp says 2:37 a.m. That's 3 hours from now." I told him to stop watching it, to turn it off and leave the studio. He said he would. That was the last time I heard his voice. The next morning I drove to his studio. The door was locked from the inside. I could see his laptop still running through the glass, screen frozen on a still frame. I called the police. When they forced the door open, the room was empty. No sign of Noah, no signs of struggle. Just the laptop still recording. The last video on his device was titled "Running Now, DemKV." It was 6 minutes long. The footage began with Noah sitting at his desk, staring at the monitor just like he described. Around the 1-minute mark, the lights flickered. The monitor flashed a frame of Sonic standing in the corner of the room. For the next few minutes, Noah didn't move. His breathing slowed until it almost stopped. Then something darted past the camera, a blue blur too fast to identify. When the video ended, the words appeared in white text over black. "He doesn't stop." The cops took the laptop as evidence, but later that night, I got another email. No sender again, no subject. The body just said, "Do you see him running now?" Attached was a file named Noah Last Clip MP4. I didn't open it. I deleted it. Or at least I thought I did. That same night I heard footsteps again, but not just one pair. Multiple. It sounded like several people sprinting around the apartment, circling the living room. The sound came from every direction. Wall, ceiling, even under the couch. Then the lights went out. I grabbed my phone and used the flashlight. That's when I saw the reflection on my TV screen. Dozens of blue silhouettes, like Sonic's shape, but elongated, twitching, almost human. They flickered in and out with each breath I took. Every time I blinked, they moved closer. I blacked out. When I woke up, it was daylight. My TV was smashed and the screen displayed a static blue screen with a single phrase burned into the pixels. "Run with him." The police came again, but all they found were shattered electronics and a ton of corrupted footage. They assumed I'd had some kind of episode. They're probably right. I don't even try to explain anymore, but I keep recording. A week after Noah vanished, my neighbor from across the hall knocked on my door. He asked if I'd been playing video games late at night. I told him no. He frowned and said, "Because last night I swear I heard a TV running. Some game with that old Sonic ring sound. except it was off-key. Slower. That was the first time I realized it wasn't just me. Whatever this thing is, it's spreading. 2 nights later, I caught something on camera again. I'd left my new webcam running while I slept. Around 3:12 a.m., the feed started glitching, just like before. Lines of static cutting across the frame. For about 5 seconds, you could see my room empty. Then, something crawled out from under my bed. It wasn't human. It wasn't even shaped right. Its limbs bent backward, fingers dragging across the floor as it stood. Its skin shimmered like static, flickering between textures, sometimes blue, sometimes transparent. But the worst part was its face. It was Sonic's, or at least something wearing his shape. The eyes were hollow black pits, and the mouth, it stretched far wider than it should have. It turned toward the camera and smiled. Then it crawled up to my bed and whispered, in a distorted mockery of Sonic's voice, "Too slow. The video cut out right there. I can't even describe what that did to me." Every instinct in my body told me to leave, to run, but I had nowhere to go. I stayed awake until sunrise, every light on, watching the door like a man waiting for execution. The next morning, I decided I couldn't stay here anymore. I packed what I could, grabbed my laptop, and checked into a cheap motel outside the city. I thought I'd be safe there. But on the second night, the hotel TV turned on by itself. Static filled the screen, and slowly, through the interference, I saw that same forest background from the original video, the one from Sonic.exe 93. Then a familiar chime played, the distorted ring collect sound. Only this time it didn't stop. It looped endlessly, faster and faster, until it turned into a high-pitched scream. The lights in the motel flickered. The bathroom door creaked open even though I'd locked it. My phone buzzed with a notification. Another file, running forever, MP4i, didn't open it. I smashed the phone against the floor. But even after I destroyed it, the sound kept playing, like it was in my head now. That night, I dreamed I was in the Green Hill Zone. Except it wasn't bright or colorful, it was dark. Endless, the sky gray and dripping like wet paint. I could hear someone behind me, running. When I turned, I saw him, Sonic, but moving wrong. His body jittered in impossible frames, like reality couldn't keep up. He stopped right in front of me, inches from my face, and whispered, "You uploaded it. You brought me back." When I woke up, I was standing outside my motel room barefoot, holding my laptop. The screen was open to a blank video player. Playtime 0000. File name, you filmed this MP4. I didn't press play. I threw the laptop in the dumpster behind the building and drove home in silence. I don't even remember making that drive. But when I got back, my home computer, yes, the one I stopped using, was on again. Same folder running, only this time it wasn't empty. There was a single video inside, time-stamped today's date. The thumbnail showed me standing outside my motel holding the laptop. It shouldn't be possible. That footage couldn't exist. But when I clicked play, I saw myself from behind, watching as something crawled out of the motel dumpster, something blue, smiling. The camera panned as the figure approached me from the darkness. The last frame before the video cut to static showed it wrapping its hands around my shoulders. Then, text appeared. "He's behind you." I slammed the monitor shut, but I could still hear the faint whisper coming from the speakers. Too slow. And then, for the first time, I heard my own voice respond from somewhere behind me, whispering the same thing. Now I understand what the footage meant. It's not a game. It's a transmission. A virus that carries something with it, something that uses the screen as a doorway. Every time the video plays, it spreads. Every time someone watches it, he runs closer. I've seen it happen to others. People who viewed fragments of the leaked footage started disappearing one by one. Their profiles vanish, their phones go dead, their emails bounce back. But sometimes, if you go on old archive forums, you'll see new posts under their usernames. The messages are always the same. "He's still running. I've destroyed every device I own, but it doesn't matter anymore." The reflection on my window tonight is flickering again, blue and smiling. I know he's near, because now, even when I close my eyes, I can still see the forest and I can still hear the footsteps getting faster. I don't know what day it is anymore. I've stopped counting them. My clock's been frozen at 3:12 a.m. for what feels like weeks, but the sun still rises, the shadows still stretch across the walls, and the running never stops. If you're reading this, it means the footage made it out somehow. I didn't send it to anyone. I swear to God I didn't. I burned every file, smashed every drive, broke every camera I owned. But he always finds a way. Maybe you downloaded something without realizing. Maybe you scrolled past a thumbnail or saw a flicker of blue pixels in the corner of your eye. If you did, it's already too late. It always starts the same way. Soft, faint, like the padding of bare feet across carpet or the tapping of a keyboard in another room. At first you ignore it. Tell yourself it's just the wind or your house settling. But eventually you recognize the rhythm. Fast, steady, running. That's when you'll know he's found you. That's how it began for me again. After the motel, after the final message that told me, "He's behind you," I ran. I didn't think. I just drove north until my tank ran dry, slept in parking lots, washed up in gas station bathrooms. I thought maybe if I stayed off the grid long enough, whatever this thing is would lose interest. So I found a cabin deep in the woods outside Spokane. No internet, no phone signal, no electricity except for a rusted old generator out back. The owner said it hadn't been used in over a decade. Perfect. Isolation. Silence. I thought maybe I could starve it out, deny it the signal it needed to reach me. But silence isn't peace. It's just the space where fear grows loudest. The first few nights were uneventful, almost calm. I wrote, cooked over the fire, convinced myself it was over. But then the dreams started. I was running through a forest that looked like Green Hill Zone, but wrong. The trees were alive, pulsing like veins, and the sky flickered between gray and static. I could hear the sound of footsteps behind me, faster and faster, closing in until I felt hot breath on the back of my neck. Every time I turned, I woke up. Then one night I woke to the faint hum of electronics. Not the generator. A different sound. Low, steady, familiar. The sound of a CRT warming up. I followed it to the main room. My old camcorder, the one I'd packed away at the bottom of my bag, was sitting upright on the table, its red recording light blinking. I hadn't touched it since the motel. I approached slowly, the snow outside reflecting pale light through the window. I looked into the viewfinder, static. Then the image shifted and I saw myself, live. Except behind me, through the cabin window, something flickered. Blue. I turned around. Nothing was there. But when I looked back, the screen showed a different place entirely. My old apartment. The one I'd abandoned. The monitor was still broken. The wall still charred from when the drive burned out. The camera zoomed slowly toward the wall, where someone had scrawled 3 words in what looked like ash or soot. "He's still running." Then the video distorted again. Sonic appeared, or something like him. The colors bled together, his outline twitching like corrupted data. His eyes were black voids bleeding static, and the smile, the impossible grin, stretched across half his face. The camera shook violently, then cut to black. I ripped the battery out and threw it across the room, but even as I did, the humming continued. That's when I heard the footsteps outside. They circled the cabin fast, crunching through the snow in perfect rhythm. I pressed myself against the wall, heart pounding, trying to listen. The steps stopped right at the door. For a moment, nothing. Then 3 slow knocks. I didn't answer. Another knock, louder this time. And then a voice. But it didn't come from outside. It came from the camcorder's speaker. Too slow. I barely slept after that. I moved my car behind the cabin the next day, ready to leave if it happened again. But the following night, it got worse. Around midnight, I found blue hairs on the floor near the door. Thin, wiry, almost metallic. The air inside the cabin felt charged, like static before a storm. I sat in silence for hours, clutching my flashlight. Then around 3 a.m., the generator cut out. Total darkness. No sound but my breathing. Then faintly, from somewhere inside the room, I heard the familiar ring chime. Not bright, not cheerful. Slowed down, distorted, dragging itself out like a dying melody. I turned on the flashlight. The beam landed on the far wall where something was written in jagged letters. Run forever. I didn't write that. I didn't even have a marker. But the ink, if it was ink, was still dripping. I tried leaving the next morning, but when I stepped outside, I found tracks in the snow. Hundreds of small footprints, perfectly circular, looping around the cabin in spirals. In the center of those prints, something had burned into the ground, melting the snow in a perfect ring. The soil beneath was black, and in the middle of it, a small object. My hard drive, the one I'd destroyed weeks ago. I didn't touch it. I went back inside, locked the door, and sat in silence until sunset. That's when I heard the generator turn back on by itself. My laptop screen, which had been dark, flickered to life. There was only one file on the desktop, Final Transmission .mp4. I didn't open it at first. I just stared, hands trembling, knowing exactly what would happen if I pressed play. But curiosity, or maybe fear, won. The video began with a handheld shot of the cabin interior. My voice narrated softly, almost calm. I thought I could escape, but he's already here. The camera turned, and I saw myself sitting at the table, eyes empty, staring into space. Behind me, the door creaked open. Sonic stepped in. No longer pixels, no longer data. Real. Flesh twisted through static, eyes hollow, skin crawling with flickering blue light. He walked up behind me, leaned close and whispered something I couldn't hear. Then the me in the video turned to the camera and smiled with a mouthful of human teeth. The screen went black. When I looked up, my laptop's webcam light was on. I slammed it shut, but it stayed glowing through the crack. I unplugged everything, but the light didn't go out. I could still feel it watching me. That night I dreamed I was the one behind the camera, filming someone else. A stranger sitting alone in a dark room, their face lit by a monitor. They looked terrified like I used to. And as I filmed, I realized what I was saying. He's coming through. When I woke up, the camcorder was recording again. It was pointed at the wall this time, but when I checked the footage, I saw movement. Something crawling across the ceiling, fast, its shape flickering between shadows. The video froze on a single frame showing its face, a perfect fusion of mine and his. That was the moment I understood. He doesn't just haunt the footage, he becomes it. Every file that's ever existed, every recording, every person who's ever looked at that cursed image, he uses us, copies us. Every time someone watches, the boundary between viewer and video gets thinner. He's rewriting us, replacing us frame by frame until there's nothing left but static and that awful grin. I tried one last time to end it. I took the camcorder outside, doused it in lighter fluid and burned it. It screamed. I swear to God it screamed like metal tearing through bone. The fire died within seconds, leaving nothing but a blackened lens staring up at me like an eye. I buried it and walked back inside, shaking. But when I turned on my laptop, the screen was already glowing. Sonic Cam 93 to MP4 was back again. The timestamp read live. The video started playing by itself. It showed the cabin, viewed from outside through the window. The snow was falling hard, blurring everything. Then I saw myself sitting at the table, staring at the screen. The camera zoomed closer, closer, until I could see the reflection in my eyes. Sonic, smiling. Then in the video, I turned my head toward the window, just like I did in real life. And for the first time, my reflection moved after I did. A second too slow. Now I don't know which one of us is real. The running hasn't stopped. It circles the cabin constantly now, faster each night. Sometimes it comes from inside the walls. Sometimes from beneath the floor. Sometimes I wake up to find muddy footprints leading up to my bed. I hear whispers through the static, voices layered together. Noah's, mine, dozens of others all saying the same thing. He's still running. I don't try to leave anymore. I think if I run, he'll follow me out. Maybe he already has. Maybe he's been using this footage to find new eyes, new hosts. That's why I'm writing this. If anyone finds this recording, if this gets uploaded somewhere again, you have to understand it's not just a story. It's a trap. Every retelling, every replay, it grows. I don't know how long I have left. The lights flicker constantly now, and every time they go out, I feel him closer. The walls buzz with static, the air tastes metallic like ozone before lightning. My reflection smiles on its own sometimes, even when I don't. The running never stops. I can hear him outside right now. The snow crunches in perfect rhythm, fast, steady, like the endless loops of a game level that never ends. He doesn't need screens anymore. He's already inside. If you ever find a file named Sonic Cam 93 running forever or Final Transmission, don't open it. Don't even hover over it. Delete it, destroy your device, and pray that's enough. Because once you've seen him, once you've heard those footsteps, it's over. He'll find you. He always does. I can hear him behind me now. The static's so loud I can't even think. I don't want to turn around, but I can see the reflection on the screen. His blue outline, that grin stretching wider and wider as he gets closer. He's reaching out. The running stopped now.